tool to use online is Google Classroom. So we're going to go ahead and go over a couple of things before we get started. You need to make sure that your school has access to the Google Apps for Education. I would probably ask whoever your STC is. They would more than likely know that information. But all they need to see is if your district is signed up. If it is, it's no cost. Unlimited teachers, unlimited students, unlimited classes. Just make sure that your district is signed up because those are some great apps and they're always going to be free by Google. And Google also maintains them, so there's nothing, no added work or added expense as far as that goes. So the first thing we're going to do is get online. We are going to search for Google Classroom. The web page is actually classroom.google.com, which kind of gets my students confused sometimes, but you'll kind of memorize it after a while. So we're going to go ahead, and I've signed all the way out. I can't really walk you through the steps of signing up the first time because it asks for your email and your password and everything, and once it's set up, it won't ever let you go back to those pages. So the first time, it'll ask you a few more questions than this, but typically you are just going to put in, and it remembered mine, your school email address. If you have students or if you yourself have your own Gmail account, it's not going to work. They want to make sure you have that .edu or your district.kyschools.us so they know that they're actually providing those apps for educators. So we are signing in, and you'll come to your main home page that has all of your classes. So as you can see, I have several classes, and these are all from last year, so you're going to notice the dates on them are a little old. But I have classes for the students that I taught, as well as a club that I sponsored. We have one for our staff, one for our teachers. I'm actually the sponsor of our cheer team, so I have a page just for that because Google Classroom is such a great platform to provide information as far as assignments, but also announcements. And all of my students had, the ones that had access to an iPhone or a phone with the Google Play Store or whatever, they would download the app and it would send them push notifications, so it would pop up just like they had a text message and say, you know, maybe I told them not to forget their homework, or maybe I posted a question that I wanted them to use as a discussion. But anyway, here's what the main homepage looks like. I'm going to take you through a couple of different things. First, I just click on a random class. As you can see, this was a project we did late spring. We started off probably after Christmas using Classroom, but this is what your page will look like. Obviously not exactly like this, but if you notice, it's sort of arranged like a news feed on Facebook or Twitter or what have you, but everything goes in reverse chronological order, and that way the newest assignment shows up first for your students. So right now it's showing they have no work due soon, which is good. You can, if you delete stuff, you can either have it show or not show the deleted items. Your class code is what your students are going to need. It's an individual code that will be different for every class. And once they log in and get ready to join your class, they will need this because it can automatically get them in. So you can select different themes, which is up here. You can upload a photo, maybe if you have a photo of your class. But what I'm going to do first is go back to our main page here. Go to classes. So back to the main page. First thing you're going to need to do when you start using Google Classroom is add some of these classes. So over here in the top corner, you have your plus sign. You can either join a class or you can create a class. To create a class, you'll click there. Very simple. Add a class name. If you want to add a section, you can. Maybe music. Oops. We'll say 5th period. And There's music 5th period. Looks like they already took the hint and gave us some music notes up there. Um, Obviously, you have no students, but you can invite them using that code. No information. But as you go, you can add a title. Maybe this is music history, give a description. If you have a collaborating teacher, you can invite them and then you can both add information. If you want to add your room number, a separate calendar, you have your Google Drive folder, and if you have maybe an ebook or some materials that you want your students to have access to easily, it can go right here. So we'll go back and I will show you kind of how it worked for me. We will click on a random class. So last thing it looks like we did was 5 moods of verbs, taking notes over the videos, including all 5 moods. So this was sort of a review exercise, and this is not really accurate. So it says 2 done, 24 not done. We did that assignment a little bit differently. But what you will need to do, down here plus sign, Google Classroom, very user-friendly. If you want to create an announcement, maybe don't forget to study for your test, don't forget to bring your textbook. If you want to set up an assignment, you would click there. You can put a title, we'll say sample assignment, instructions, and then you can choose a due date, or you can have your due date not exist. That would be neat for a long-term project because it's going to tell your students when they are expecting something to be done. If you want to add it to multiple classes, like I had several sections of 8th grade language arts, you would just click the ones you want it to show up on. So we will just make that, we'll say for music, because I'm sure some of these students are still enrolled in these classes and they're going to get a notification pretty soon and be really confused. But you can add a YouTube video. You can add a link to something. You can add a Google Drive item. You can add a file from your computer. Whatever it is, you would click on assign, or you could schedule it for later, or just save it as a draft if you get halfway through and think, I'm not ready to give this assignment. So all of those are options. And it would say right here, I'm going to delete that post. So that would be kind of how that would work there. Once you've added an assignment, let me go down to an assignment that would be a good example. Okay, so an argument essay here. We're going to click on the assignment. You can see all of my students over to the left. Okay, shows me who's done. It shows me who's not done. Over here, it shows me all of the progress. Let's say I want to look at this student's. I would click on it. It's going to open their document. And the neat thing here is, if I want to help this student, I can type on her doc. Pretty neat. I can also comment over here. Say, you're doing great. Work on your spelling. I'm going to cancel that because this student's going to get a notification. So that is a really cool thing. Also, right up here, it's going to show you at all times. Right now I just made a change, so it's not showing me. But it's going to show you how long it's been since a student has made an edit. This says last edit was made seconds ago. It's a good way for you to look around, just use your teacher vision and judge who looks like they're off task. I typically find those students, look and see when their last edit was. If it's been minutes, sometimes even 10 or 15 minutes, I know that they're not on task. So, another way you can communicate is through a private message. Private messages are going to come up over here, and it's just between me and that student. So, here to argue that Marshall County Board should make web filters less strict. So she was kind of going through me to make sure that was okay. Then she asked if she could finish that at home. A lot of students I found, that were maybe shy or didn't typically ask for help and maybe they did need it would ask me in private comments because they felt like they were kind of chatting with me, but they didn't have to do the awkward face to face, which is sometimes difficult for students. So, feedback becomes quite simple with Google Classroom. Another thing you can do, I'm going to click on that again. Right here, you can add grades. Let's say the student made 100. You would add a grade, and then you would return it to them so they could see it. Over here, you can copy all grades to Google Sheets or download it basically as a spreadsheet. This is really good for keeping all the grades here where the student can see it, but like in my case, our school used another program to keep up with our grades. So it was a little bit of extra work, but I liked being able to keep up with the grades right here. But last but not least, we will go back over here and I will show you probably the best part about Google Classroom. You see all of these things, all these assignments, all these things that maybe the students turned in as their assignments. If you click on your About page, there will be a Google Drive folder. So it's going to pull up my personal Google Drive. So there's all kinds of junk around here. But it will make a folder for every class and for every assignment in that class. So if you notice, all of these are things that I assigned in my drive, my classroom, 8th grade language arts, 5th period. Let's say it was those 5 moods of verbs. If I open that, it's going to show me all of them that I have. So maybe that's the students didn't turn it in, or most of them didn't complete that on there. But Works Cited page, as you see, lots of those. I can open those, and it also shows me the last time it was modified. So anytime I need to review a student's work, or if a student needs to review their own work, when they click on that About page, when they're over here on their classroom, they will click on About, and right here it'll show their individual Google Drive folder. So that is really helpful for them. I know that was a lot of information, but Google Classroom is an awesome, awesome tool that you can use for all kinds of different things. And there are tons of tutorials online if you just do a Google search, or my favorite is to look on Pinterest. If you just type in Google Classroom, there will be elementary, middle school, high school, all kinds of different levels and topics and blog entries, all kinds of stuff to help you with whatever it may be. So that is Google Classroom.